and welcome to the Legroom podcast. The purpose of the podcast is to engage in meaningful and interesting conversations with professionals who are excelling in their field of work. We do so by initiating dialogues and having conversations about new and upcoming avenues of work, which some might even consider as unconventional. The objective of the conversation is to widen the viewers' perspectives about careers and the journeys which people take to find what they love doing. So, what's up guys, we're live and welcome to the Legroom. We have Maitrik and Pratik with us. So why don't you all introduce yourselves to us?
Hi, I'm Maitrik Satra. I'm a darzi by profession, which means fashion designer nowadays. So, yeah, I'm one of the founders of the brand, the Opal tribe, and yeah, I would love to discuss a lot more.
Hi, I'm Pratik Karandikar. As he mentioned, even I'm a darzi, and I'm a fashion designer, and I'm a co-founder at the Opal tribe. Yeah, that's basically.
What is darzi?
Darzi is
Tailor.
Tailor.
Okay. Nice. So Opal tribe. What? How did you stumble upon that name? What does it mean?
So Opal is a creative. It's a stone.
Okay.
So it basically symbolizes confidence, like hope, purity, and everything. So we wanted to create a tribe of people who are confident wearing our clothes. So that was the basic idea behind the name, the Opal tribe. So it's a tribe of creative and confident people.
It's also to do with the different characteristics of the stone as well. So, freedom is another aspect where we want to bring people into that idea of expressing themselves through our products.
Yeah.
So it's all about a little more versatility in the industry, in the fashion industry.
So once they buy your products, they get the confidence.
The confidence they need to wear our products.
Okay. Nice. So, what is your background in terms of fashion? How did you all enter this field?
So for me, I'm a science student. My background is in science. So I actually wanted to do architecture, and I don't even know how I landed in fashion designing, but it happened. I mean, so in 11th and 12th standard, my goal was to prepare for architecture and everything. But my mentor, she was okay, you have much the drawing skills and everything that I have, they are not actually apt for architecture. So then she was okay, you need to think about designing as well. And me personally, I was not exposed to all these fields early on. So yeah, in 12th standard, I decided to do designing. And even then I was focused on product designing and graphics. But then I had an option to go for a good school where you get exposed to a lot of good opportunities, or stick to my the stream that I want to do. And my choice was of course a good college where I can explore a lot. So yeah, that's me.
Nice.
Our stories are actually very similar because I am a science student as well, and I was also pursuing architecture. That's actually the reason I took science.
Okay.
Because physics and math were compulsory subjects, so I was okay, let's do this. And then, science ne auqat dikha di. I was never a bookworm, I was never into studies as such. So, so then I took a drop year to switch to design because I felt architecture was very technical in terms I was not going to use my creativity a lot there. And then there's also my family business, so we're into uniforms, kids wear retail, so it made more sense to me that I pursue design instead of architecture.
Right.
I took a drop year, and then the same thing. Like we had the same mentor, and she gave me a lot more clarity, like why I should pursue design.
Hmm.
And then yeah, the rest is
Yeah.
we're here now.
Here we are. So, what year did Opal Tribe start and
So we actually started working in like 2020, like COVID period. So it
Yeah,
started
really
as a college project where we were actually like all the online classes. They were like teaching us like to build a website. Like they were teaching us about like brand and everything, like how to develop a brand. And then we just had a thought ki like just let's just start our own thing and let's like explore the market post COVID, like how the fashion industry is like reacting to certain designs and stuff. So that's how we started. And yeah, like that was in year 2020, and then we had to take like a year's break because of the college like getting started again and everything. So after that we did a show. It was a competition for L graduates, and we actually won that.
L graduates as in?
It's a competition for upcoming brands, like brands which are like 3 years old or like less than that.
Okay.
So we participated in that competition, and then yeah, like of course we won the competition in Indian wear category, and that's how we got our break. And then we were like, okay, this whatever we are doing has like potential, and we should like think about it. And that's where we started like actually focusing on the brand and like building on it.
Nice. So, what is L? I'm not sure. I mean, I've seen the name, I've read it a bunch of times, but what exactly is L?
L magazine is one of
the magazine.
Magazine, yeah, it's a.
Right.
So they're like at the forefront of media, like publicity for the fashion industry, and like, they discuss a lot of
Upcoming trends.
like what was happening in the industry. They're like at the top of it.
Nice.
So Vogue, L.
Oh yeah, Vogue and
Yeah.
Vogue. I've heard. So both of you all were introduced in college as roommates.
Yeah, like we went to the same coaching
Oh, yeah, we went to the
class,
same
but
coaching.
like my schedule was very fucked up,
Okay.
and it was like I was like there we like barely interacted, but once we went to the college, like we were roommates there.
Right.
So that's how we started like okay. Then we used to have like these long conversations about like several topics. And so actually like college first year we actually did a competition together. We had like similar ideas, and that's like it took us like 15 minutes to like come up with the concept and like do everything.
Wow.
And yeah, so that is where like we realized ki, like, we are good together, like working
that was
together.
actually our first win. Like
Yeah, first win
was
for
again
us.
a competition between us college students, and it was by the RRF, so like Raghavendra Rathore Foundation. So yeah, that was like a small competition for the students to get us into gears, get our creative juices running. So us having the same concept, the same ideas, we just requested the faculty members to allow us to work on it together, build a common project, and yeah, that was our first win
Nice.
as a team. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So when you are designing, right, these days, I think now you all have won 2 shows and
Yeah.
2 competitions,
Correct.
and I believe you all had a show in Rome.
Right. So it
Was
was.
that the L graduate show?
No.
No.
So what? Tell me more about this Rome show.
So it was our graduation project.
Okay.
So in like fashion school, like we have to come up with like a graduation project, and even like the Rome thing was a competition, and we were like, okay, let's just submit our designs and like the sketches and stuff, and then we got selected for that competition.
That's huge though. I mean, at
Yeah.
your age, winning a competition with a Rome, I think every kid wants that.
It's like getting exposed to like international market. Like international market is like industry is recognizing your designs. So it was like a huge boost for us, like the confidence. So yeah, it was great.
So talk about international markets. Italy is the fashion capital, or is that
Milan.
Paris?
Milan is one of the fashion capitals of the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is it called the fashion capital again? I mean, is it because there are a lot of designers there, or is it?
Italy has had like oldest brands, not Italy but like France. Italy has a lot of fashion houses, so majority of the luxury dominant brands that are right now in the industry are based in Italy.
Okay.
So that's just because of that, it's one of the fashion capitals. So we can talk about London as well, Paris. These are like major brands that are like leading in the fashion industry right now, that like based in these cities.
What about India? Do you think it's reaching that threshold of becoming a
Fashion capital. So when we talk about fashion in India, it's very diverse. So we have like the Indian fashion, like Indian traditional clothing, and then there's an influence of Western wear as well. When we talk about the other capitals, it's dominant in Western silhouettes, Western wear.
Right.
So it's actually because of the diversity here, I guess it has a lot of potential to become a fashion capital of the world.
Thing is,
It's
like,
just about the time that it needs, the acceptance by society in India.
so
And more brands like yours, I guess.
yeah, I feel like post COVID, a lot of brands are recognized on international level, like Indian brands,
Indian brands, okay.
because everything was like digital. So like a lot of designers, they actually capitalized on that situation, and like they went international. So yeah, like it's a very
It's a growing market.
It's a growing market.
It's a growing market, right? So nowadays, when you're designing, piece of clothing, what is the, you don't have to reveal any secrets, but what does the process look like?
First,
Where does it start? And, yeah.
first is like recognizing the trend that is going on, like forecasting the trend, and like what we do is keeping our aesthetic, our story in mind. Like that is like a firm base that we have, and then we build on it. So like whatever trend is going on in the world, we just like our version of that trend. Like we introduce our version of that trend.
I'd like to add on to this point. It actually starts with observation, like you mentioned, like to be able to actually, concise the trends that are going on. So not like referring to the trend forecast, but just having that observation, like okay, what are people wearing? So it's also mentioned by Ruth Carter. So she is the costume designer for the movie Black Panther.
Oh.
So she is also featuring in Abstract, a series on Netflix, and she also mentions the same thing, that she spent time in the streets just looking at what people are wearing, what their behavior is. So it actually helps recognize our customer, the kind of pieces that they're wearing, or what is the combination, what is the style they're going with. So a lot of that information put together paints like a clearer picture for us to start working on something. So that is basically our the kickstart we need. That it comes from this study, and then we dig into our books, sketches, renders, fabric sourcing.
Nice. So about this trend forecasting, I was watching a couple of videos and I realized that these trends are decided almost 2-3 years before the trend is actually even coming into play. Is that true?
Yeah.
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 So
And I believe there's only one company which does this trend forecasting, or very few companies.
Yeah.
There are a few.
And people pay a shit ton of money to get that.
The reports, yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were like actually studying about the whole trend forecasting, like it was very basic, but the core is recognizing the history, like the pattern that goes on,
Yeah.
and like something which is like a trend which goes out of style, it will come back like in the future. So it's
Right.
basically like figuring out like what the timeline is.
Right. And right now, I think it's almost become a. I was reading this article about this thing known as normcore.
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 Namkar, yeah.
Yeah, it was essentially the core of the normal person. Was the essence of it. So I think it was in 2012 or 13 when an art house in New York they started.
13 it started, like
Yeah.
2014 was when it started booming.
Yeah, so that's when they started pushing these really plain looking, this plain kind of fashion where people were wearing white t-shirts, bland t-shirts like beige, and then pants, and then sneakers, you know, satchel or something. And the success over here was that they found these really apt fashion icons like Steve Jobs,
Steve Jobs.
Jerry Seinfeld, Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
All of these guys are wearing these really plain looking clothes, and nowadays, if you look at people our age, they are wearing these white t-shirts, black pants, and
Right.
white shoes, and then they just. So, is it? What do you say about it?
I would say, so as we discussed this cycle of trends, so minimalism was a trend, and I feel like this is like a residue, I would say, residue of that trend that happened long ago. So, as a joke, someone even mentioned like, okay, normcore is like an excuse for people not wanting to dress up, like not wanting to get ready to step out and just be comfortable in what they want to wear, like just a casual Friday.
I feel like marketing plays a huge role in this because nowadays like people are selling their concepts like philosophies. So even when you mentioned like Steve Jobs, like you can associate that outfit with the personality, with the philosophy that he's like standing for. So that's how like people are attracted to all these trends. So
Actually, yeah. I mean, I feel the thing over here to understand is that, as you mentioned, this is the residue of the minimalist fashion movement or design movement that was going on. And you mentioned this very interesting fact that people don't want to get ready, right? To be very frank, I don't like getting ready. I mean, if you look at me, I'm in my shorts and t-shirt. I don't pay that much attention to what I'm wearing. And as you mentioned, it's more about comfort for me, which can differ from person to person. But when you talk about the objective of a piece of clothing, right, what all do you think comes into play? Like, is it just comfort, or what else can you think about?
So fashion for me is like it's not always comfort for me.
Okay.
Like of course comfort is like plays
Definitely.
a big
From
role.
person to person,
Yeah,
right?
person to
Yeah.
person. Yeah. So like simplicity for you is like it's very subjective. Like for
Definitely.
you it's completely different. For me it's like completely like whatever I am wearing is like simple clothing. For you are wearing, for you it's simple clothing.
Right.
So yeah, like that is basically like about like the marketing part only. Like I feel like how a trend or like whatever is like coming out. So that is something I feel like.
So when you all are designing a fashion line and when you all are finalizing a couple of clothing options, do you all have a target audience in mind, or do you all have a target structure, body structure in mind as such?
Body structure, not as such. So it's all about the first piece that we design. It's actually a sample piece. So we size it up for a model, so they can try on, can carry out with the shoot, and then it goes onto the page. From where we get orders. So after we meet the client, that's when the tweaking happens. So regarding the target, yeah, we do keep in mind a target audience that we are designing a certain piece for. But then we've actually experienced a very huge difference in the perception of any design. So now, when we talk about like target audiences, we categorize it with age, demographic, aspects like those, and then what we've come to notice is that nowadays age does not really define a liking towards any kind of design, because even like 40, 45, 50-year-olds, they are really into oversized clothing like baggy jeans, bomber jackets and stuff. So they really don't want to, for them age is a number. So yeah, we've noticed that change in this mindset with people, and then we've also noticed people our age, like 20, 25-year-olds or like 20 to 30-year-olds, really going towards a classic silhouette, something that's been going on, and of course it's a classic, so it's always in style. So we've seen that shift with person to person, and I think that's something really interesting that we're getting to work with, because we get like different type of clients and we really don't know what they're gonna ask for. So there's always that slight mystery that makes every project for us extremely interesting.
So when you say classic silhouette, what does that mean?
A classic piece is like
Classic
when we
piece, yeah.
consider Indian ethnics, then the Nehru jacket is a classic, the Bandh Gala is a classic, Sherwani is again, so yeah, these are some timeless pieces, and you just tweak it with like your own brand image aesthetic, and that's what makes it yours, but the structure of the garment remains same. Like, there's not a lot of manipulation there.
So what we keep in mind is whenever we are like designing something, so how we can translate the design like different outfits. So for example, if we design like a sherwani or like a kurta or something, so how we can use those prints and like make a bomber jacket outfit. So it's basically like if we design a statement piece like some outfit, we try to like take aspects from that, like for example print, embroidery and stuff, and then like like adding it into the like all the other, like according to the need of the customer basically.
Like tweaking so our own experimentation with one of the classics was we take a kurta, open up a slit down the middle, so it's not just the placket is not just ending at the end of the chest, but like you just open up the kurta in the front and then add a few buttons at the top.
Oh yeah, I've seen
so,
that.
Long
Famous.
shirt, yeah.
Sexy.
Yeah, so
Nice.
that's the kind of manipulation we try to experiment with.
Nice,
So you pair it up with, like, it's not just a traditional Indian piece now, it's something you can pair with like a t-shirt and jeans, and yeah, you step out, everyone's eyes are on you.
Yeah.
So like whatever outfits we make, like every outfit, like I'll say like not every outfit is like wearable. For example, like if we are creating like art or something, like, but then we keep in mind, okay, like we need to like make it wearable somehow.
Right.
So like if we are like designing a statement piece, so we keep in mind, okay, like what aspects we can take from that and like make it wearable.
Right.
So yeah.
To add on to his point, so there are famous designers for avant-garde collections. So
What collections?
it's called an avant-garde collection. So
Okay.
it's not really wearable fashion, but like art, more on the lines of art. So like
Okay.
contemporary fashion is what we address it as. So one of my favorites is Gareth Poo from London. So you look at his work and you're just in like extreme awe, because it's amazing. So with every collection that he releases, like he has like a film that starts before the show, kind of setting the mood for the fashion show to begin, and it's all so contemporary. Like, assign meaning to it is like very difficult because there's a perspective with which he has designed it, and then there's a perspective in which we are looking at it. So that is one thing. But then again, when we talk about like Indian designers, Gaurav Gupta, he has been able to, merge avant-garde fashion with wearable fashion. So his pieces have that dynamic. So it gives a lot of movement in the garment, and then at the same time it's wearable again. So yeah, just to bridge that, I feel like it's a feat, and yeah, he's just amazing at what he does. So yeah, that's actually what I'm trying to convey.
Yeah, because the perception, I feel like every garment also, and it has its own objective reality, but the person who's wearing it will assign a subjective perception to it also.
Correct.
Right? So aligning your perception with the designers, or actually the other way around, for the designer to design clothes in such a way that his customers will be able to align themselves with his perception. I think that's the big challenge, right? Because when you're designing a piece of clothing, you all have something in mind of how it should look and the kind of checklist item which has to tick off. But then once the customer wears it, there might be a new set of problems. So actually getting that alignment might be the toughest.
Like the conversion from like 2D to like a 3D design, it's a task. Like whatever you draw, it's not like wearable, like always.
Right.
But another challenge there is so the renders we make. The initial renders are just like, okay, this is where the embroidery goes, this is where the cut will be.
Right.
And then when you're actually considering the body type, if it's a shorter person, then it might not just look the same. So for a person who's extremely tall, or like 6'2", 6'3", they can pull off a design which is like sort of elongated. Then with a short person, you need to really change it up.
Yeah.
So depending on the body type, again, the look of the garment that we've designed, it can change drastically. So we need to also keep that in mind while even putting the design forward to the client. So okay, this is what would look good, like this is what would be a little iffy. So keeping that in mind, we need to deal with the clients in such a way where we're meeting their needs as well, and our designs come through to them as well.
So what are the trends in the fashion world looking like today? What's up and coming? We spoke about the extremely baggy culture where oversized is the new thing, whereas it has been there in the US, you mentioned, for the last 50-60 years. But now it's picking up in India. So if you think of trends today, what comes to mind?
So I feel like the shift came from COVID, and it was all about loungewear, comfortable clothing, utility wear. So again, one of my favorite trends right now are like cargo jeans, cargo parachute, cargo pants, and everything cargo. So it all adds to the utility of the garment that I'm wearing. Like a complaint that we've constantly heard from women is the pants, they don't have pockets.
Yeah.
So
keep it mobile female friends. Please keep it in
yeah. So now that problem is solved. Like women love wearing cargo pants, and then every time they're stepping out. While at that, like cargos go well with the street culture as well. So everyone's just copying this piece of garment, and I think it's just flawless in design as well.
What do you think? What are the new trends?
So, like right now, there is a lot of digital influence. So, even like for example, metaverse. So, there are like brands like Adidas. So they are like introducing their outfits digitally in metaverse, and like characters in that, like they can actually buy those outfits. So like to wear, and but like AI and everything, like metaverse coming in, I feel like handwork, like whatever, like handcrafts, they will also get like more importance at the same time, because everything going digital, like hands-on work is like very important.
That's the basis of it.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. So they have fashion shows in the metaverse.
In
and
the
then
metaverse.
People can view them.
Yeah.
And then the garments that you have, can you try them on in the metaverse? Like,
So it's like a
visualize it.
proper fashion show, like a physical fashion show that happens. Like a similar thing happens in metaverse.
wow. So you all need to like consider this for your fashion shows also. Like, trying to incorporate them into the metaverse.
Yeah,
or
like
not?
keeping up with the trend, somewhere we should, but because we promote Indian crafts and Indian like handwork, basically. So like even that should be displayed on that platform, I feel.
But like our products can, convey a lot more through touch and feel. I think that's the root, like going back to the roots. So
Yeah, it is. I mean,
like it's the essence of the fabric. The work that goes into it.
yeah, I get it. I mean, when I go to a
Yeah.
store, I always pick the thinnest white t-shirt. Never go for the fat. I mean, I don't know. It's just me, but crazy. So recently, I was seeing this trend where people are wearing socks, and then they're slipping their working socks on. And I'm sure it might be appealing to them and for a big audience, but for you as fashion designers, have you ever seen examples of ridiculous pieces of clothing which people are trying to pull off which don't work at all?
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have. You can be open about it.
I
But
mean,
like-
yeah, like talking about like the trend that you mentioned, like slides, I don't mind, like they are comfortable, but with socks and everything, I'm really
Yeah, I
not
mean, slides
sure.
and socks, they go. I mean, if you see sportsmen, they often wear socks.
Yeah,
and then
correct.
but that's because for them it's a utility. They're going for practice, they need something to put on.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to damage their actual shoes, so they put that on. But people replicating that in the outside world who have nothing to do with sports.
Yeah.
Which is wearing it because it looks cool.
It's just that like the personality, like it influences people,
Definitely.
and that is something. Then they start replicating that style, I will say. So,
Yeah, like honestly, I have no objection with, I have no objection towards this trend because, again, it's inspired from somewhere, and yeah, a trend basically starts in this
Out
manner.
of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
It's out of nowhere. That's
And there is there are some pieces like the big red boots.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
what's your opinion on those?
like that brand, Mischief, is renowned for releasing controversial pieces.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the big red boots, again, they play on the factor of exclusivity. So yeah, it's always gonna be the talk of the town. But yeah, when it comes to Birkenstocks with socks, I would like tweak it up with like quirky prints on the socks. So there's a lot more attention on that.
Have you seen the show The Office?
yeah.
I tried.
So in that there's this guy Dwight Schrute who keeps wearing Birkenstocks with socks. It's damn funny.
It's probably after the 6th season. I'm not sure. Like I've watched it till like the
No, the
5th.
second season. Third season. Second season.
You tried.
If you want me
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
extremely particular as to when it is, I can also do that. It's when Jim hosts a barbecue party and Dwight walks in with Birkenstocks and then he's wearing socks and someone points at her saying, "Hey, nice Birkenstocks." And
No, I haven't
you haven't paid that
I would
much
say I've
attention.
watched it, but like not
Oh yeah, I
with a lot,
I
like
don't watch
utmost
it,
of my
study.
attention. Oh yeah.
ठीक है. So many times you hear that fashion, it becomes a sort of a self-expression for the person who's wearing it, right? But when you look at the designer, he has his own form of expression that he's trying to put into the piece that he or she has designed. So when it comes to the customer's self-expression, right? How does that work? How do you align a piece of clothing to your self-expression, or do you just, because nowadays I've realized that people are following only trends, but are those trends really an expression of themselves, or is it just something that they?
Going with the flow.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there are people who like stick to their style, like for example, Saif Ali Khan.
Okay.
So he's a royal, and he only wears like
Those patodi.
like particular clothing. So they like keep their style, like they don't lose their way in between. But there are like people who get influenced and like keep trying new stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'll tell you why. There's this director called Guy Ritchie. He's made this movie called The Covenant. He talks about this concept called the death of the suit. So I'm sure I must have heard of it, but essentially the suit was worn at one point of time to kind of classify elegance and to portray
Class.
a class, status symbol, right, where you're looking really neat and chic. But then that entire trend died when offices started demanding their employees to wear suits. Now, not every employee is going to be looking forward in an enthusiastic headspace that yes, I want to go to office, right?
Yeah.
So then so they started putting in less efforts into the clothing that they were wearing, and obviously because the only option they had was suits, you could tell that the opinion of suits also started downgrading at that point of time. But I think Ralph Lauren came into the picture at one point and he started bringing all these.
Yeah,
Sorry?
with his checks print.
Oh yeah. He came in and then he changed the game because
Yeah.
he brought in these African models, and then nobody actually back in those days, suits were only kind of how do you put this? Suits were only used by people who worked on Wall Street and extremely corporate culture. So then when different people started wearing suits, I think it started building up again. So, are there any other types of clothing, like Indian clothing, according to you, that have seen this downfall and then kind of picked up again?
I feel like because of Western influence, a lot of Indian outfits, like they are just like worn event to event, basically. So like for example, Band Galas. So they were like worn day to day, like by a lot of people, by the royals.
Okay.
And like outfits like these, like for example, dhoti. So in India, like we used to like most of us used to wear like dhotis and like for our day to day use, but now it's changed.
You visualize yourself in a certain way, and I feel that comes with any piece of clothing where just before you're putting it on, you visualize yourself, you have an inspiration that you visualized it from, and then you try to put yourself as close to it as possible. Right?
Absolutely.
Similarly, even the fanny packs, the satchels, they've also made a big comeback, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know if they left the scene ever, but
It basically pushed because like the whole utility, like cargo pants and everything, like they started coming up.
yeah.
Fanny pack is also it's based on utility, like it's really helpful. Yeah.
So you all being fashion designers, being in the heart of the industry, what do you all have to say about sustainability?
So the first thought that comes up is how can a garment, be sustainable? So how can it be reused or recycled? The thought that provokes sustainability is the idea that a single cotton t-shirt takes around hundreds of gallons of water to be produced, and even though cotton is biodegradable, the amount of time it takes it's huge. Like you can't really call that sustainable because at the same time the usage is extremely high. So So then, yeah, back in college we studied like fabrics made out of different materials. So sugarcane mulch was one, um, coconut fiber, mushroom fiber,
Using these in
using these
Yeah.
to create fiber, like
Okay.
as in
Thread.
yeah, yarn.
Yarn,
Yeah.
Like, most of like there are a lot of companies like they use mycelium, which you can find in like fungus basically. So that part they actually use it to make like fabric out of it, and they can actually replicate leather and like other similar like polyester feel and like cotton also like similar feeling fabrics through fungus like mycelium.
So yeah, I mean, this is not something directly related to like designers as such, but brands when they consider going sustainable, the raw material is one aspect. But then again, for a brand who is practicing like a certain pricing point, for them to use this material and then still remain at that price point for the customer is again another challenge. So we've seen fashion brands apply a more circular style of sustainability where like I don't know if you visited malls may H&M and Zara showrooms like they have dumps for used fabric. So you can carry bags and then dump it there, and then you get like a voucher on voucher on your donation.
Right. You can also give old clothes there, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any type of fabric that like not really using anymore is usable for them to recycle. Another thing we noticed was ocean waste. Adidas had a collaboration with Pale for recycling plastic waste from the oceans, and it was actually a huge campaign where they created shoes. And I remember this because I'm a football fan, and the Real Madrid jerseys were made out of that fabric, so recycled plastic. That is another approach we've seen. If you want to add anything to the point?
I mean, like what we do in our brand is upcycle used, of course, clothing. So basically, the last collection that we did, we used vintage patches from Kutch, right? Yeah.
So the artisans in Kutch, they have a lot of these decorative pieces. So it's not really they don't have any utility, but the women, it's actually imbibed in the culture over there that when a woman is getting married, so they don't have a dowry system, but like dowry not in the traditional sense of dowry, but when a woman is getting married, her skill is what is like a comparative analysis against money. So the kind of pieces that she's made, the decorative wall hangings, pot covers, just table spreads. So a lot of these home furniture pieces, so all of these were done by hand. All the embroidery, all the mirror work, everything was done by hand. So as dowry, these are the pieces that were sent away with the bride. So we wouldn't really call it dowry, but not in the traditional sense, like I said, but yeah, it can be considered the same. And in some tribes, it was also a matter of fact that before getting married, a woman had to complete a certain number of pieces, hand embroidered pieces, to actually qualify to get married. So
This exists in India?
it used
Yeah,
to.
it
used
Like,
to, okay.
It's not practiced anymore, but
Okay.
yeah, this used to happen in Gujarat. Yeah, I learned all of this on my visit there, and yeah, I was astounded. So all of these, like coming back to the point, all of these decorative pieces, they don't really have any utility. So we picked these vintage embroidered pieces and then introduced them into our products.
Nice, yeah.
So in that way, again, alleviating, like actually just enhancing the overall look, and these are all extremely vibrant pieces. So it definitely like, yeah, it's like a power up for regular garments.
Even for the customer, like it adds on to the product because like it has a story behind it. Like, it's a part of like tradition, history, and they're able to actually wear it. So that thought for the customer is like really intriguing. So like
Nice.
even like I'll say like thrift culture, like
Yeah.
it's growing in India now.
And thrift culture has always existed, right? Abroad,
Yeah,
at
but
least.
like now it's getting that
yeah,
boost.
thrifting. Yeah,
It's actually being recognized a lot more in Pune now, in India now.
in India.
So yeah, I mean that's the kind of sustainable approach we have in our brand as of now.
Nice. Because I was thinking about this and I realized that sustainability has many different aspects to it, as you mentioned, and many brands practice it in different ways. But if you consider just the longevity of the piece, like a sari, which goes on for, which can be used for I think 7-8 years after its purchase, maybe longer. What does the longevity of your products look like, and do you all, is this a consideration point while making the product?
So like our design style, I'll say it's timeless.
Okay.
Because it's been there for a very long time, and it will be like it will exist for a very long time. And as you mentioned, like the saris and stuff, so even we like design saris and like similar pieces. So even my mom today, like she owns like saris that are like 30-40 years old, like generations of it,
Yeah.
like pattern and everything.
Right.
So
right.
they are like passed on from generations to generations, like jewelry, for example.
I mean, in India, I think we're masters of, like every household is like a master of sustainability.
Yeah.
Jugaad बोलते हैं ना, so a piece of garment
पता है.
will become like will go a lot of things. So in the end उसको पोछा ही बनना है. But when you mentioned saris, so I remember my nani's sari was used by her, and then my mom's sisters, and then my mom, and till date it's being used as one of my blankets. So it's a silk sari, and we've converted that into a blanket.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't see that blanket going away
Right,
anytime soon,
definitely.
unless it's like torn or anything. But अगर वो भी नहीं होगा तो उसका कुछ बन ही जाएगा आगे.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I feel like naturally in Indians it's become like
Inherent,
this
yeah.
sustainable practice of reusing whatever can be done, whatever you can make most of.
Because when I purchase t-shirts or from anywhere, H&M, Zara, whatever, like after I started reading up about sustainability, I realized that it's very hard to actually use these kind of t-shirts for a long period of time,
Yeah.
because you can see them go bad over a period of time. So it makes sense, to actually move to a more sustainable solution. So do you have any recommendations for someone like me? In what way can I kind of incorporate sustainability in my fashion or my clothing? Or any brands that you suggest? Or because there's Theli, as we spoke about,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. Fairly recyclable plastic to make
Plastic,
shoes.
yeah.
plastic bags to make shoes.
Plastic bags to make shoes. I mean, in a way, when you look at like an entire wardrobe, there are pieces that you use a lot more. So the frequency of usage is very high. And then there are pieces that have lesser frequency, and then there are pieces that are like timeless. So can be used for over 7 to 8 years. Like jeans fall into these categories. Jackets can fall into this category, but t-shirts are like frequently used. So what I can notice, and the longevity in the fabric is what makes the difference. So t-shirts in H&M, they want it to be price comparative, so you'll see like t-shirts that are thinner fabric. So the lasting is not long, but so is the pricing. So you would pay $700 for a t-shirt that can last for 6 months, and then you can see the wear and tear of the piece. And the same t-shirt, if it's manufactured in a higher GSM fabric, the cost will be significantly higher, but this piece will last way longer. So higher GSM, around 200, 240 GSM t-shirts, and the fabric is a little more rugged. So even if you're wearing it every day, this is a piece that will last long. So you're spending less on new pieces. The only pain point here is you can't really get variety. So for people who just need a lot of new things from time to time in the wardrobe, for them practicing sustainability is like a nightmare. That's a slight change that you can add. So in a way, you're a lot more conscious about your buying patterns as well.
So I feel clothing is basically an investment.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so if you like invest in like proper clothing, it will go on like sarees.
Pays, yeah.
It will pay over the period of time.
Yeah, that's an interesting take actually.
I feel that's where, since we were talking about like trends in like street style coming in, brands like Blue Orange, Jaywalking, House of Brahma, they have introduced t-shirts that are higher GSM fabrics. So that added with their print styles or like whatever concept they have, that basically builds a lot more curiosity for the customer. And of course, if you're paying a higher amount for a t-shirt, you would want it to last long, and the product promises longevity. So yeah, that's another thing to be considered.
Nice. So, I think one more very important aspect is with Indian traditional clothing, like saris or the kind of clothes that you all are designing, is the concept of individuality also. Because I'm not just talking about individual preferences here, but individuality as a country, because you can kind of relate a fashion to a nation then, which has become kind of difficult if you see Western clothing these days, because you look at, as we spoke about normcore, and you can't really trace it back to any country it's from, or even the suit, right? You can't really trace it back to any country, but if you see Indian clothing, people can kind of trace it back to the country. So that concept of individuality becomes highly significant. But with fashion, what was that word? The trend forecasting, with trend forecasting, businesses are studying the buying habits and buying behaviors of their customers, and they crave this predictability. But that also in a way leads to the death of individuality in a way. So what do you have to say about that? Is it true? And
in a sense, you can say it is true, because large scale production houses like you can say consider Zara, H&M, Bershka, they cater to the masses. They're not really into specific styles or like designs. It's just what can be manufactured at a scale, and then that's the pattern. Like, okay, this is something which is staple, and then it's gonna sell quick. So the manufacturing rate is high, the sales rate is high. So in that regard, they cannot really even think about a segment where they're catering to a certain individual style or design. So for that they would need like a separate segment. Let's say Zara Staples is one, and then there'll be like Zara Couture. So that would be interesting. But when you talk about individuality, it's couture brands that focus on this. So, like I said, partly it is true, but it again depends on the kind of organization it is.
I feel like today it's very easy to like influence someone through like digital media and everything.
Yeah.
So before like the whole digital concept, like people are actually like thinking about what I want to wear. But now like they are getting influenced on like many levels.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's for these companies.
Because he's wearing it, I want to wear it.
Yeah. So it's like that's why like these companies like they can influence a lot of people and like they will wear like t-shirts and forget about the individuality.
Now we've seen it like rise so much that like styling was an aspect earlier, like fashion styling was a different thing. There were specialists for the same, and now if you open any website, you will see the product listed, and then you'll also see how the product or the piece is styled. So if it's a jacket, they'll show like, okay, this is the kind of t-shirt you can wear inside, paired with denim or shorts, even the socks and shoes that go with it. So it's like imprinting that memory into your head. So naturally, when you browse a lot, you get that sense कि नहीं इसके साथ यही pair होगा.
Yeah.
Like this is the style that goes well. So when we talk about like color combinations also, for us it's very easy. Like okay, you name a color and then I'll tell you like okay, no, these are the colors that will go with it. But for someone who does not really have that keen eye for understanding color combinations, this is another. It's of course a help, but then again, like okay, it's basically guiding that person to buy the same. So now
It's kind of shaping that.
shaping their mindset around that piece. So if you don't have that pair of shorts, you will also buy that pair of shorts.
Yeah.
So it's like that.
And I think with
Again, like you asked, like okay, where do you see the customer wearing our products? So it's the same, like giving them an idea, like okay, this is the public place, like this is the occasion you can wear it in. So it gives them a lot more clarity and makes their purchase easier.
right.
So it's all about making it convenient for the customer.
When you're designing a clothing line, we spoke about the target audience and keeping in mind the different kinds of customers and body types you might be designing for. But what other stakeholders can you think of when you're designing a fashion line, like apart from customers? Just another sub point. Y'all are going to be doing a show now in Vancouver, so y'all have to consider other parties also who might view your line. So on those bases.
So when we talk about like stakeholders, the first thing that goes into any design is how can we make it our own. So when it's about portraying a brand identity, it's about targeting an audience. So that is always one of the major aspects. But then as designers, we're only working on the concept. So then the next part is to actually convey what our thought is to our manufacturers, like artisans. One of our major crafts is block printing. So we really need to like make sure that the design can actually transfer onto these crafts. So when it comes to block printing, it's very necessary that the block can be done right. So we face technical issues if the block is not made right, and that can entirely hamper an entire collection.
Right.
So it might be like an extremely tiny thing, but again it has like massive impact.
Right.
That is one thing, and then again, since it is a garment, the fit and the stitching that goes into putting the pieces together. So when the stitching is top notch, it basically speaks for the quality of the garment. So that is another aspect. But this is basically only the making of the garment. Otherwise, once the garment is ready, another aspect that we need to focus on is who can make it look good. So as a model, if I'm talking about any piece of design, it depends, like, okay, if I'm comfortable in a certain piece, if I can pull it off, if I'm comfortable shooting in it. A lot of people like can be conscious about themselves, so yeah, some pieces are not meant for them. So we need to be able to convey that, okay, this is the kind of piece that we're looking, this is what can look good on you. Again, it's all about like a clear transparency between us and the client. So again, this helps the client to understand, okay, what are they getting into.
So the major thing here is to educate the market, like educate the person who is actually wearing, like spreading the awareness about the design. Same for the artisan as well. Like we have to, as he mentioned, like we have to like tell them our like, okay, this is what we want, like, and accordingly they'll like make the blocks or whatever. Like.
So yeah, the artisans are, like I said, they're all in rural villages. So their skill does not come from any inspiration but their own. It's their imagination that they've been practicing since they were kids, and now like it's grown into them. So it's all of it is their imagination. There's no inspiration to look at. There's no reference to look at. So if the same embroidery that they've been doing in like multicolored threads for all their life, if I tell them, no, I want it to be the same color as the fabric, I don't want it to like pop out or like be catchy like that. To convey that to them, it's like, okay, no, how can I do that? So even while working on a small project with them, that was another challenge that we faced. Like for them, I don't know how it can be like extremely demanding, but I feel when it comes to modernizing any craft, like actually introducing it to a fast-paced industry, we understand what's working. For them, they've never been introduced to this huge fashion industry, so we need to be a little more patient with them. So it's all about being able to condition them in this thought and convey what we demand from them.
So after that point, like once the garment is made, it's all marketing game, like how you market your product. That can actually make or break the whole collection, because if you're not able to portray the product properly, then like we won't get that amount of engagement from the customer or the target audience.
Right, because apart from the garment, you're also selling the culture.
Yeah.
Right, so educating the people and the customers about this culture and the tiny elements of this culture becomes a very big part of it.
So like to make sure that there is a need for this, like the education part, like that is like the main part of marketing, I feel.
So our like niche is it's a very particular niche that we target. So we basically have to reach out to them. So then our marketing game has to be extremely strong to be able to like pick out this persona.
So you all mentioned the word client a bunch of times, right? So when you all are designing a line, do you have a client or do you just design it because you all want to start a particular line? And if you all are designing for a client, who is this client? Is it the customer or?
So we have samples ready. So as a design house, we need to have variety to attract customers.
Mm-hmm.
to attract clients. So based on that, we understand what is clicking with the client, and then manipulations can be made. But
Also,
the collections are like the start to introduce our brand identity and brand image into the market.
Hmm.
So when we are doing a fashion show, for example, the Vancouver one that we'll be doing in October, so there.
Wait, let's
Yeah.
expand on that.
Okay.
The Vancouver fashion. That's a big deal, so
Yeah.
please.
So we recently actually affiliated with a digital marketing agency and like actually started promoting our brand, like about our work, and that's how like Vancouver Fashion Week saw us, and they actually gave us a sponsorship offer where we present a collection at Vancouver Fashion Week. So yeah, like in October we'll be doing that. Like that's
Nice.
the next thing that we'll be doing. So there, like the media coverage that we get, and also there will be a lot of traders and like business people there.
Hmm.
So they will actually book our outfits, basically the garments that they see on the ramp. They actually book the pieces,
Place an order.
place in orders.
Hmm. Cool.
So
So
manufacturers reaching out to retailers. So like a concept of an umbrella store. So you have multi-branded stores. So like that. So our brand is going to be one of one of the clients that way.
nice. So this actually I should have asked you this question much before, but you know when like in your journey you're decided to make your own brand, and then just through trial and error now you're at this position where you're visiting fashion shows and presenting your lines to fashion shows. So how easy, more than easy, how feasible is it for upcoming fashion designers to actually carve their own path and just go all out and just make their own brand and make it work? What are the challenges that they might face?
So for us, like what we did was we explored a lot of things, and not only the Indian culture, but even like philosophies other than Indian culture as well. So that basically helped us to like pinpoint, okay, this is us, like this is where we come from, this is our story, and this is what we need to build on. So that I feel like every designer, like upcoming fashion designer, he or she, like, they should like keep in mind to like explore everything, and then decide okay, like what they want to do, like know their roots, like where they come from, and sell their story, because that will resonate more to the customer, target audience.
So for a newly graduated student from a fashion school, what does the typical path look like after college?
The typical path would be to get some work experience. A lot of effort goes into, like, there are a lot of departments in a fashion house. So a working understanding of what department comes where, like even like the chronology of where the department is getting involved. So when we say manufacturing, it's not just that, like, there are a lot of components inside the department as well. So once you get like you get like a crystal clear idea of how the working of the brand is, what kind of investment goes in, where are the investments, what are the channels. So it gives you a clearer idea of how you can run a brand. So that's when you can start analyzing your path. From there on, like, okay, what role do you want to pursue? So yeah,
It's very important to like build those connections, like networks, because like you can't just like randomly start a brand. Like, you need a proper
network,
like a proper system, like a proper strategy, and for that you need to work under someone who is already there
To understand
to
how
understand.
so again, like, it's not like you can directly apply for assistant designer or like head designer depending on the brand, but as per the requirement as well. So there's again a ladder that you need to climb. But in that experience, there's a lot of learning as well. So, I mean, it is said like, okay, it's all about grunt work in the beginning, but yeah, you need to get your worth.
Yeah, I feel that grunt work. I feel the grunt work continues, even not just the beginning, because kind of keeps you in touch with how you started it.
It's like
But like in the field of fashion, there's no particular working hours. So,
Definitely.
so you can't really complain about working a lot.
Yeah.
You just have to put in the hours.
Do what you
It's
have.
a creative field. Like people get creative any hour of the day. An idea can click at any point of the day, point of the night. But yeah, it's a roller coaster of an experience.
So I've heard this from a bunch of people, actually, not a bunch of people. I've read this, that fashion designers, they became designers, they had their golden era, but then they became sellouts. So what does that mean in the fashion context? Did they just go overly commercial, or what? I mean,
Yeah, I mean you could say that,
okay.
but like I said,
Losing
there's a
touch
new
with your
designer
roots,
coming
yeah.
up every day, and because there's a lot of options now. People say like, okay, in any field now there's a lot of competition. It's not easy anyway. So if you can't keep up with this change, you will be sidelined.
Thing is, like any business, it's very important to like generate sales.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you
Exactly,
like
yeah,
stick
yeah,
to
yeah.
your like the story and everything, and don't cater to what the client wants, you'll
You'll lose out.
You'll not be relevant anymore.
Right,
I mean,
right.
So-
it's not art; it is design. So
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to
it has
sell.
be-
And as much as you're designing for yourself, you're actually not. You're designing
You're
for.
not.
So your individual bias is left outside
Design
at the
in
door.
itself is a hoax.
Yeah, it is. It is big time. That's true. Cool. So, and how long do you think it typically takes for a designer, a fashion designer, to go from just a graduate to having a good career in fashion?
See, for us, it was like we graduated in like this year, Jan.
Okay.
So it's like it completely depends on what
You decide to do in
what
the
we
field of
decide.
fashion
because
design,
even
yes.
if you gain experience in the industry under someone,
Mm-hmm.
so that system works for that particular brand. It's not like if you start your brand, that is like the like those are the rules. Like, there are no rules.
Right.
So you have to like start at some point, and it will be completely new. Like, whatever your experience is like nil at that point. That will just help you with your manufacturing and like putting into a system, like building a strategy for it. But yeah, like it's not like
Yeah, there's no set of rules.
There's no right or wrong way of doing it.
Defined steps to success.
Yeah,
And
just-
it also depends on what opportunities come your way and the ones that you are capable of capitalizing on. So they both go hand in hand.
Nice. All right. So for this concluding segment, I want to discuss from you guys who are into the fashion world and you understand clothing, some interesting new upcoming brands which you all would maybe recommend after Opal Tribe, obviously.
I mean,
So okay, let's take it category wise. Let's say everyday clothing, not ethnic wear.
I am a fan of Blue Orange.
Okay.
Yeah, the product is it's reliable, like I said. So Blue Orange and
almost gods for me.
Almost gods.
Yeah.
Almost got.
Almost gods.
Yeah.
They are good. And like designer wise, there is a brand called Akhil.
Akhil, okay.
Akhil. So he was actually a winner of L Graduates with us. He won the Western player. Yeah. So his work is like really good.
Really good.
Yeah, really good.
Nice. Any others?
There's another brand a competitor brand as well. A friend of mine mentioned it to me. It's called Karu Research.
What's it?
Karu.
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 Okay.
Karu Research. I went through the page and it's on similar lines as our brand as well. So, yeah, it is amazing. You should definitely check out their pieces.
After Opal Drive.
After Overdrive, yes, of course.
But yeah, it's the work they take. I feel our vision and their vision is on similar lines. So to be able to compete with that brand would be as a very young brand for us would be to be able to compete with them at that level. So yeah, I really look up to that brand.
Cool. Cool, then let's wrap up. It was great having you guys here. It was awesome talking to you all. Learned a lot of things. I hope the viewers also get to know a lot more. And
I think this was our first podcast ever.
yeah,
So it was a really good experience for us. Thank you for inviting us.
definitely, man. You're always welcome after your Vancouver fashion show. Please do it. Yeah, y'all can talk about that, how that went.
We hope you enjoy the video, and please do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the Legroom channel.